Afternoon. Our presenter today is Dr. Paesung Lin. Dr. Lin is the director of the ITS Traffic Operations and Safety Program here at the Center for Urban Transportation Research at USF. He is also the director of the Florida LTAP program here also at USF Qatar. He earned his master's degree from the University of Texas at Austin in 1991 and a doctoral degree from the University of Florida in 1995. He is a registered professional engineer in Florida and a certified professional traffic operations engineer by the Institute of Transportation Engineers. Dr. Lin is also an ITE fellow and has 26 years of work and research experience in transportation, specializing in traffic signal systems, traffic engineering and operations, pedestrian and bicycle safety, wrong way driving prevention, crash analysis, intelligent transportation systems, and automated vehicles. Dr. Lin has conducted more than 120 research projects and grants and has published and presented numerous technical papers at national and international conferences and meetings. He has served as chair of the ITE Intelligent Traffic Signal Operations Committee from 2005 to 2015, and has also served as the president of the International Chinese Transportation Professionals Association from 2013 to 2015. And in 2017, he was the recipient of the prestigious ITE Edward A. Mueller District 10 Transportation Engineer of the Year Award. And now, Dr. Lin, I will hand things off to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's webcast, and appreciate this opportunity. We can share the previous research project sponsored by Florida Department of Transportation, and the topic of the research project is development of statewide guidelines for implementing leading pedestrian interval in Florida. And so this is the outline we're going to cover today. And I would like to first give introduction and the project background, project objectives. Then we're going to focus on the project task, social activity and findings. So that will give you a good idea about what the project we have done. But of course, the most important thing is we're going to talk about the findings and LPI warrants, implementation guideline, and also examples. And I think this is probably the most important part. And then at the end, we'll provide you the summary and research conclusion and the recommendation for the implementations. And so this is a research project completed in December 2017. And this is sponsored by Florida Department of Transportation. And this project particularly focus on the leading pedestrian interval. I know there are many agencies and many professionals, they are very interested in the LPI implementation. And particularly like in what situation is it good for us to implement LPI. And what any particular guideline will be really useful for agencies to implement that. And here, I'd just like to recognize our research team member, and this is a team effort to conduct this research. So I appreciate my team work diligently on this research project. And so we're going to particularly focus on the findings and the API warrant developed from this research, and also like to give you examples so you know how to utilize the warrant to see how that will assist you to determine whether you should implement LPI or not, or what should be some guidance if you want to implement that, and what should you follow. And so this will be the main focus for today's presentation. And so first is the background. As we all know, if you are living in Florida, you know the pedestrian safety is a #1 priority in Florida. And every year we have a lot of pedestrian-related fatality and injury and crashes, and the fatality rate, I think we are in the probably, I think we'll say top 3 in the nation, likely it's #2. And so this has been long been the issues and the concerns. And so how can we be uh, can find any countermeasure, effective countermeasure and solution to reduce this fatality and injuries. And as we know, there's are many pedestrian crashes occur at the signal intersection, but of course there's also much more occur on the mid-block crossing. And but today we're going to focus on the signal intersection, and LPI is a very low cost solutions, and that's why it's really good that if we know uh, where and how and when and how we should implement that, and so we can use a low cost and to get a really effective implementation. And as I mentioned, many agencies is very interested in LPI, and so really great to have this opportunity to share our finding with you today. And so yeah, so definitely there's a need for our effort to have the guideline for all the agency to follow and to help them for implementation. So the objective here, the first is we like to obtain the knowledge, experience, and guidance from LPI implementation. And so basically, we like to we already conduct this uh, study. So first, we do a lot of literature review, and we also conduct many traffic agency interview, and also we ask for the field experts, and also we consult with each FDOT district operation staff, and also we conduct our pilot test. And so based on that, that's why it's very valuable for this and study. And at the same time, we also had that in mind because we don't want the research produced is very complicated, guideline or information, and then it's hard for especially the local agency to implement. So we like to, so we have that in mind. We like to have a simple and robust guideline, and so it's easier and for local agency to understand and implement that. And so here just a list of the project tasks. And we're going to go through all of them, and some of them, especially the findings and the analysis result, the finding and the LPI warrants and examples. We're going to spend more time on that, but here just give you a quick view of what we have done through this project. And in this project, uh, so briefly is that first we collect a lot of information, as I mentioned before, and to do a thorough literature review. And based on those information on the task 3, based on those information, we develop a preliminary LPI guideline. And then based on those guidelines, uh, we select a site and then we do the before study. So we collect the before data before the LPI implementation at those selected sites. And then we implement the LPI. Then after that, we do the very similar data collection for the after. So we can compare before and after to see how if the effectiveness of LPI. And then based on our data analysis, then because we got before after data analysis, based on that findings and results, we fine tune the preliminary our guideline. So we finalize the LPI implementation guideline, and that also include the LPI warrants. And at the end, we produce the draft final report and cross-out meeting and final report. So here I'll show you, as I mentioned on literature review, we do the literature review. We also do the interview and do a survey and also talk to people, talk to experts. So here just give you some idea and some information and some agency and some finding. And So so at this time, I'm not going to go through each one the detail, but that give you a good idea about at the beginning the effort we have put onto this literature review. And if you are very interested in the detailed information, you can go to see our final report in the appendices. There's a lot of detailed information, and so I think when you go through that, I think you will enjoy that because there's a lot of information from all different agencies. And then so mainly what's the pro and con of LPI? So first, uh, for the pros of LPI, first is that would be the implementation of LPI will be able to increase the visibility of pedestrian when pedestrian got the priority and when they walk uh, to on the crosswalk and driver should be able to see that. I think that's the purpose. So they got so LPI is a leading pedestrian interval. Basically, pedestrian will get the walk indication before vehicle get a green indications. So driver be able to see pedestrian already on the crosswalk. And so second one is the pro or LPI is to increase the perception of safety. And because as you know, some pedestrian when they at a signal intersection and they try to avoid signal intersections, and because the reason is because they don't feel it's safe to cross street at a signal intersection. And but on the other hand, and we really want to make sure intersection is safe, and that's why pedestrian would like to use cross a street at a signal intersection when they are nearby or at the signal intersection. So really, it's important that with LPI, we like to make sure intersection is safer. We also want to increase pedestrians' perception, uh, the safety at the intersection, so they will be able to cross street at a signal intersection, not just cross nearby intersection, but not at intersections. And also the third one is because this implementation will require just some adjustment on signal timing and to accommodate that. So relatively compared when we compare to other implementation, it's really a low cost implementations. So on the other hand, so what's the disadvantage, what's potential concern or cons of the LPI? So first one, people can say about when we increase couple seconds at the beginning of the green for pedestrian to have a heads up, and that basically vehicle was still waiting. Vehicle still have red, and so potential concern about the increase of vehicle delay. And second one is the driver, the motorist may be confused at the beginning when LPI is on, especially when pedestrian push the pay button. And when LPI is on, pedestrian already cross street, already disappear, and that will cause a confusion from the drivers because when they get a green, supposedly they think they should get a green, and they do not see pedestrians, and we do have a walk signal, pedestrian walk signal on, but nobody there, and so driver may cause confusion, and also driver may complain about that and call traffic agency, and maybe there's any malfunction of traffic signal or something, and so this is the potential concern or issue for LPI. Okay. And so here, as I mentioned earlier, so we conduct LPI online surveys, and we ask them, this is the list of the question we ask uh, in the survey, and we try to see how's everybody's thinking, concern, opinion, and suggestion about this the list here. And we also conduct the phone interview and to get more information, especially the agency uh, they implement that, and all the agency they implement the LPI, but they remove LPI because that will provide a lot of insight about uh, what is the reason they implement the LPI, but they remove the LPI. And we also talk to all the FDOT districts, so we appreciate all the support and feedback from all the DOT district representative, and this is the list here. And so the next one is we do a data collection, collection of information input for LPI guideline developments. And so when we develop the preliminary guideline, these are many things we consider. And so here is the list. And so I'm briefly just go through a couple of that of this here. So for example, why do you want to implement LPI? And maybe the first you have is you got complaints, and people complain about vehicle not yielding to pedestrian at the signal intersection, or maybe there's a crash, pedestrian or hit by vehicle at the intersection, or especially on the crosswalk. And the turning vehicle, there's a lot of vehicle turning major turns. It's very hard for pedestrian to cross the street, or maybe the pedestrian volume is very high, and so there's a potential conflict between turning vehicle and pedestrians. Or could be the intersection is really not is irregular, and there's a skew intersection. There's a visibility issues, and or maybe there's an intersection, it's a T intersection, and the vehicle making left turns, and we also need to include that into the consideration of LPI implementation. And another the second part here, for example, we may consider the compliance behavior. For example, not every pedestrian, when they cross street, when they push pay button, they always wait there until they get a green. And so we need to consider what's the percentage of pedestrians they comply with their compliant behavior when they cross the street. And also we need to consider what's the delay if we implement LPI. What would be the delay at a signal intersection? And what's the pedestrians their behavior or push the pay button and then they leave. So this is another important thing for that, because earlier I mentioned that why people remove LPI, the agencies. So this is one of the major reasons, because not every pedestrian will wait there, especially if you got once in a while you got pedestrians and they push a button and they see the gap, they cross the street, they disappear. And then the agency may got a lot of complaint from drivers. And then because we will waste a lot of time when nobody is there, and some agency end up with have to remove the LPI implementation. And so there's the other consideration for example, how can we make sure it's successful implementation for implementing LPI, not just put LPI there. Maybe we should consider the no turn on red sign or the burnout sign, or no turn or yield to pedestrian sign over there, and also accessible pedestrian signal. And also we need to consider doing education. So this one is show you the preliminary LPI implementation guidelines. So this is the early stage. After we doing all the literature review, we do the interview, we do a survey, we do our analysis. So we come out with a much kind of simpler guidelines, so kind of checklist, and so consider the crash, consider the visibility, consider the yielding behavior, and consider the volume information, and so this is a kind of simple checklist. This is at the beginning. Based on all those information we have, we develop a preliminary guideline, and then based on that, we choose we choose a nice site, but there are total 11 approach for our studies. So for this intersection, we choose this intersection is not like randomly choose this intersection, because we want to test our preliminary guideline. So for example, there are certain intersection, their volume, pedestrian volume or vehicle volume is very close or exceed our originally, for example, for the volume for the warden for pay volume or pedestrian volume. So they are pretty much meet certain warrants, and some of them meet a lot of warrants, and some of them maybe at least meet one of the LPI warrants, and before we implement that. And so this cover all the FDOT districts. And so very quickly, I would like to show you, just give you an idea, those sites. And so the first one is in District 7, and this is near our USF campus. And so I'm going to just briefly show you the pictures, and so we go through that. And this also in District 7 in downtown Tampa. And so this picture I try to let you have idea about the site for this study. So the third site is also on the District 7. It's a Fletcher Avenue and North Nebraska Avenue. So more like suburban area. And this is the site in FDOT District 2. And then this is the site in District 6. It's near the beach. And this one is in District 1. So this is in Sarasota County. So this intersection is very wide, and so people try to make right, and they may not be able to see the pedestrian. The one I highlight on the blue is the crosswalk area. And this is one in District 4, Fort Lauderdale, in city of Fort Lauderdale. And this one in District 3. So this is in Tallahassee, the East Tennessee and Monroe Street. So this one is in District 5. So as you can see, this intersection is a skew intersection, and so if you go going to make right, you may not see the pedestrian right there, maybe blocked by the pole, and so this is we got visibility issue at this intersection. Yeah, so the next one is I'm going to just quickly show you the data collection, and so this is a when we do data collection, there are a couple of things we look at, whether because when LPI usually have a couple of seconds, 3 to 5 or 6 seconds, and so when we do our data collection, we try to observe not only the right turn traffic volume, but also the pedestrian volumes, also the cross street volumes. And on the behavior side, we look into that generally when we talk about the concern is whether a driver is yield to pedestrian or not. So there are two parts. First part is there's a conflict, and second one is a non-yielding behavior. So this look like very similar, but they are different. So because this part is important, so I'm going to explain that to you. So when we say there's a conflict between turning vehicle and pedestrians, means if vehicle or pedestrian, if they are continue their motions, then the crash is going to occur. So one side have to stop, or for example, if the vehicle is turning, pedestrian is walking, and one of them have to stop, then the crash can avoid. So a lot of time pedestrian will suddenly stop because the vehicles keep moving, or vehicle have to quickly stop because otherwise you're going to hit pedestrians. So when we had this situation, we call it a conflict. And then the second one is a non-yielding behavior, means, for example, pedestrians is going to cross street, but they see the vehicle already move pretty fast, and pedestrian have to wait. And so in that case, means pedestrian wait for vehicle to cross street because the vehicle is not yielding to pedestrians. So this is what we call non-yielding behavior. Because we're going to later I'm going to show you a table, and that table have the conflict and non-yielding behavior, because that's very important part. So we look into this two behavior at the first couple of seconds when LPI is on. And we also look into whole green interval and to see what this behavior conflict, what's the number of conflict, what's the number of non-yielding behavior. So we kind of look into both. So this is the major thing we're looking at. So look at the vehicle, the volume information we count, and so the right-hand volumes and pedestrian volume to cross the street, also the cross street volumes, because the cross street volume is also important. Think about that. If you are the driver, you're going to make a right turns. If there's a cross street, if there's a lot of car, means you may not have a lot of gap, and so that cross street volume is also a factor to affect whether the driver is going to make a right turn or what's their speed. If the cross street volume is very light, then when people make a right turn, they tend to drive faster or sometimes even not stop, even it's red. Yeah, so cross street volume also an important factor. And so the test file is after study for LPI implementation analysis. And so we implement the LPI for all those locations after we finish the before study. And then we do a data collation, and we work with each district and also local agencies and to help on the implementation. And so we work with district and local agency for this LPI implementation. And so I just quickly go through this. The after data collection is very similar like before, and the same locations, and it's all those are the same location, the very similar data collection period, and we collect and observe the behavior to see what's the difference between before and after. And so this one, actually, this is probably one of very important table of from this research. And so as you can see, first I highlight the green and red, and the green means the non-yielding behavior. For example, first column, this is the first, this is a non-yielding behavior. So when you see green, this non-yielding behavior reduced, so that's good. For example, this is red, non-yielding behavior increase, so that's not good. Even we implement the LPI, and so first A and B, the first column here, two column here is only those 4-5 second LPI implementation period. The second one is the total amount, the total green interval. And so as you can see, the yielding behavior, non-yielding behavior is a mixed results. Some is green, some is red, some is get better, some is kind of get worse. However, if you look at the percentage of conflicts, so this column is for the LPI during the LPI period. So you can see there's an improvement percentage of conflict reduction from 25% to 100%. But overall, you also can see it's all positive results. So you can see the conflict reduction, good reduction after the implementations. So we're going to talk more about what does that mean in the later presentation. And then we also look at the impact of the how does that impact to the delay. So we also have some simulation and show that, but basically the implementation of PI have minor impact for the traffic operations. So we try 2 different locations and use the volume information, conduct a simulation, and look into the delay. And this table also important. The reason is that because, as I mentioned earlier, this site, we also consider their volume information. So it's not like we pick any site. They need to pretty much meet the preliminary guideline for implementation. So after we do that, as you can see, the last column is a percentage of utilizations. That means when LPI is on, there's a pedestrian there. And so if you meet those criteria, the pedestrian volume and vehicle volume and side street volume information, if you meet those, as you can see, this percentage is high, means for example 99.4%, the first one. That means when LPI is on, 99.4% that pedestrian is there. Driver can see that pedestrians, and so in that way it means people, driver know why, LPI is implemented. And so once you meet the criteria, then this implementation percentage of utilization or LPI is very high. So that's very important, because if this is low, means when LPI is on, driver cannot see pedestrians. So if you got 20%, that means if there are five times when PI is on, only one time pedestrians there. So you really want this to be high. Otherwise, driver is going to complain, and also will end up the agency have to remove LPI. So after that, we just find out that based on all the analysis and finding from before after study, then we finalize the LPI guideline. And so based on that, I think this is an important finding, is that we, based on all those analysis and finding and literature review, everything, we develop 8 different warrants. And so basically that will help agency and to see, we encourage everybody, at least you need to meet 1 warrant, and that will help you successfully implement LPI. And here I want to mention is the warrant 3, the vehicle non-yielding behavior, and this is considered by DOT as a key warrant for LPI implementation. So there's a different warrant here, but I think it's important for agency to consider that for successful implementation. And however, warrant 3 is a 1, because it's easier for agency to conduct studies and observation just to see that vehicle non-yielding behavior. If this is you see that it's a problem, an issue, a concern, and that will help you to determine for LPI implementations. So I just want to take this opportunity to identify the warrant 3. So here I will not go through the detail on each one, but for the first warrant, I would explain a little bit about what does that mean for the support and standard here. So the support here basically tell you why we need to consider these warrants. And for example, the first one is the crash, because when there's a crash at a signal intersection, means there's a major problem here at the signal intersection. So the first one is approach crash frequency. So this is the one we'll consider. And the standard basically tell you in what situation we can decide this intersection meet a warrant 1 or not. For example, in this case, if based on the last 3-year data, if you got average have 1 pedestrian crash per year, then you meet this warrant. And so just very straightforward. And the second one is the visibility issues. So if certain location, especially the skew intersection, if you see there's the problem of the visibility issue, for example, the pedestrians there, but driver cannot see that when they start at stop bar, because could be there's a side distance problem, there could be there's a signal pole, maybe block the pedestrians, or maybe there's a cabinet, traffic controller cabinet there, maybe they block the pedestrians. So if there's any visibility issues, then you meet this warrant to implement LPI. So the third one is a vehicle non-yielding behavior. And so I mentioned earlier, and this is very important, warrants. And so in here, support tell you why this warrant is important to consider for implementation. But the standard here is the more for us to determine in what situation I meet the warrants for this particular location. And as I mentioned earlier before, I mentioned about the conflicts and also mentioned about the non-yielding behaviors. And so A and B here. So A is focused on the conflicts. So if we do a field observation for 3 days, and if we found that the number of conflicts more than equal or more than 3 per day, then you meet these warrants. And the conflict means either pedestrian or driver, one of them have to stop, otherwise the crash is going to happen. So this is conflict. However, on the other side is a non-yielding behavior, and we call percentage of compromised pedestrian starting at onset of the walk signals. So if there's non-yielding behavior is more than 10%, equal more than 10%, then you also meet the warrant for this warrant 3. And so the next couple, we're going to talk about the vehicle vehicle and pedestrian related warrants. And so here just define you. So movement A is the turning vehicle, could be made left turns, right turn, or could be made left turn for the multi intersection. And B is the pedestrian volume. This is the one, for example, this is potential conflict between A and B. So this is the crosswalk. So we're going to count the pedestrian volume here. And C is the cross street volume. So A, B, C. A is turning vehicle, B is pedestrian, and C is the cross street volumes. So warrant 4 is a vehicle peak hours. And so whether we meet a warrant or not, so we got the criteria is here. So if a vehicle traffic peak hour of an average day, approach turning vehicle volume, movement A, is more than 130 vehicle per hour, and the turning volume, pedestrian volume at the crosswalk is more than 25. So if you meet both of them, then you meet this warrant. But if you meet one, you do not meet another one, then you'll refer to the next one. It depends on the cross street. So if you meet either the vehicle turning volume or pedestrian volume, but you don't meet both, then you refer to the next one. So if the cross street volume per hour per lane more than 500, then you meet the warrant of vehicle peak hour warrant 4. Okay. And so very similar for volume, the warrant 5 is a focus more on pedestrian peak hour volume. And so if the turning vehicle volume more than 100 and pedestrian volume more than 50 per hour, then you meet. Yeah, so here, so A, so you meet both. You need to have both, then you meet. If one of them, either the vehicle right turning volume or pedestrian volume, if one of them we do not meet, then you refer to the second one. In that case, if the cross street vehicle volume per hour per lane more than 400, then you meet these warrants, warrant 5. And the same for warrant 6, so the same principle and the criteria is here. And warrant 7 is for 8 hours. So for 4 hours means you need to find out there are 4 hours. For example, later on we're going to have an example. You find the 4 hour in your data collection, and 4 hour meet that, then you meet. And peak hour means only 1 hour you meet, or one peak hour pedestrian value you meet this, then you meet the warrants. And 4 hour means you need to have 4 hour, 4 hour different throughout the day. If there are 4 hour meet the criteria, then you meet these warrants. And 8 hour means you need to have 8 hour vehicle and pedestrian volume. meet the criteria, then we meet this warrant. And the last one is a school crossing. So if there's a school crossing, you automatically meet this warrant. And so this is the implementation LLPI. So what's the duration? Usually it's 3 to 6 seconds. And so how you calculate that? So we got a formula. And so basically we want to make sure the pedestrian be able to, that duration of LPI will help pedestrian to cross at least the one lane. And so the ML is a distance to cross to create the width of moving lane. So ML and PL is the width of parking lane. If you don't have parking lane there, then this PL will be 0. And the W is the walking speed. So we use 3.5 feet per second. So this will give you an idea how long LPI should be. And so here we provide a lot of additional information and to help you to consider and for implementation. And we're also going to cover in the next couple of slides. And so this is an example. We try to use an example to show you, for example, we got 2 one-way streets. And so this is in downtown CBD. And the lane width is 10 feet. The parking lane is 8 feet. And then no pedestrian crash in the previous 3 years. And no feasibility issue. Vehicle non-yielding behavior was reported. So this is the number of conflict observed, day 1, day 2, day 3. And this is the vehicle volume information and pedestrian volume information. And for cross-street volume information, we'll divide to traffic per lane. This is cross-street per lane volume. And so we can go through the warrant. For example, warrant 1, because there's no crash occur there, so not meet the first warrant. And warrant 2, there's no visibility issues, so they don't meet. And warrant 3, and because we got 11.7 per day, that's more than 3 per day. So this they meet the warrant 3. And warrant 4, because this is threshold value I put there. And so you can easily see the volume against that threshold value. So in this case, okay, both of them are met for most of the hour, but on the 16 to 17, because it's 114, so they don't meet below 130. And so you look at in that case, only one meet, then you need to refer the cross-street volume. So in this case, we need to have 500, but we only have 287 here. So overall, based on that, they don't meet. This particular hour, they don't meet. But overall, this is the peak hour volume. So you see this all pretty much they all meet. So this warrant 4 is met. And the same, we check all those for volume 5, 6, and 7. So this is they met warrant 5. They also met warrant 6 and 7. Since this is not a school zone, so they don't meet warrant 8. So this will give you that. So at least you need to meet one warrant. So in this case, it's recommend useful implementation. So after that, we finish the produce draft final and final report. And so the summary of the research and conclusion here. So the research team conduct very intensive intensive collection of LPI guideline information. But of course, there's not a lot of agencies, they don't have official one. But we through the literature review and online survey and teleconference call and work with our district representative. So we got a very solid literature review. And then based on that, we developed a preliminary guideline for implementation. And then we successfully conducted before-after study and to test this LPI suitability and their effectiveness. And then the before-after study provides us a good insight about the effectiveness and performance of LPI. So if we meet pretty much when we meet the warrants and when we implement that, we can see there's a really good reduction of conflicts, because this is very important. And however, the non-yielding behavior from this study, it's a mixed result. Some getting better, some gets worse. It doesn't mean you implement LPI, driver is going to yield to you. And so this, we got mixed result on that. But we're also going to mention there's a supplemental support. You can improve this non-yielding behavior. So overall, we also found that the LPI achieved very high percentage of utilization. 7 approach, we got 11 approach. So 7 approach, we achieve 85% LPI utilization. Means when LPI is on, pedestrians layer, because they're meeting this pedestrian and vehicle warrants. And so as you can see, it's very high. If you meet that, when you meet traffic and pedestrian volume across or exceed the specified number in the warrant, you will have high utilization rate, and this is very important. And then based on that, we fine tune, so eventually we produce our warrants. And so the implement of LPI show a mixed results on yielding behavior, but show a really good results on reduction of conflicts. The implementation of LPI show minor impact to the traffic operations, and LPI warrants are very useful for successful LPI implementation. And proper implementation of LPI will improve pedestrian safety at signal intersections. And for LPI implementation, if there's a T intersection, the left-hand volume will be used for the turning volume computations. And we recommend that this is very important. Remember, we mentioned about the non-yielding behavior. So the no turn on red or turning vehicle yield to pedestrian, along with LPI implementation, can maximize the safety effects. And that will also improve the non-yielding behavior. So this is one example with non-yielding, the brand out sign. So there's a no turn on red brand out sign. Also, when it's green, there's a turning vehicle yield to pedestrians. And the reason, because when you got no turn on red, when LPI is on, the signal is red, so vehicles still cannot turn. And so that will make sure driver have to wait and to avoid the non-yielding behavior. And another one is maybe we also need to consider whether a longer LPI is needed if we got more aging population, or we got slow moving pedestrian with more slow moving speeds. And also the accessible pedestrian signal and also should be used when LPI is implemented. And so the recommendation here is we got different warrants. However, the crash difference is very important, and visibility is also very important, and report non-yielding behavior. So the top 3 is all very important. And pedestrian volume should be considered. It's not as important as those 3, but it should be considered. Otherwise, if you just implement any place, you are likely you're going to remove it, because you may receive a lot of complaint when driver may a right turn or left turn, they don't see pedestrians. And if when you implement LPI, if you can see that will cause a lot of delay, then you probably should consider not implement that, because even though we like to improve pedestrian safety, but you will create a very significant traffic congestion, then you probably will also get a lot of complaints. And so this is something to consider. Also, the field observation and also need to continue after, especially if you see a slow crossing speed, pedestrian with slow crossing speed. And also transportation engineer should determine whether you're going to implement LPI for whole day or just for a certain time of day, because LPI may not meet the location may not meet the warrant on all the time. And so you may determine whether you're going to select a certain period of time for implementation, or you're going to implement whole day, because that's something to consider. And also education is very important, because a lot of time people don't know what to say LPI. Driver may not know that, and pedestrian may not know that either. So a proper education before and after implementation is very important, and proper adjustment is needed and to maximize the LPI safety effectiveness and also utilization of LPI implementation. Yeah, so this concludes my presentation, and so we still got 6-7 minutes. So do you have any question? You can can post your question, and I will do my best to answer your questions.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Lin. On your screen, you'll see a box for Q&A. Just type your comment or question into the box, and we will read those aloud to the presenter. So I'll give everyone just a couple of minutes here or just a moment here to go ahead and type any questions that you might have. All right, looks like we have our first question coming in. Could you summarize the major benefit of LPI?
Yeah, so first, the LPI will increase the visibility of crossing pedestrians, so driver can see pedestrian. And secondly is we can see a significant reduction on the conflict between pedestrian and turning vehicles. And the third one is with a supplemental implementation, the one I just mentioned, Norton on red and yield to pedestrian sign, and we can increase the likelihood of drivers yielding behavior to pedestrians, and we also can increase the pedestrian safety, especially for pedestrians who may be slow to start into the intersection, for the more aging population. So without LPI, at least that pedestrian will be on the presence on the crosswalk, so driver can see that.
All right, great. Another question coming in is what is the crash reduction factor, and what estimated percentage of pedestrian crash reductions are at signalized intersections by implementing LPI?
Yeah, I think this is a very good question, important questions. And so based on the information I have from the Federal Highway Administration on EDC 5, that's everyday counts, and LPI is one of the important countermeasure. So based on the information, the leading pedestrian interval will have about 60% reduction in pedestrian vehicle crash at intersection. So basically, proper implementation of LPI could reduce about 60% of pedestrian and vehicle crashes at the signal intersections.
Okay, great. We have another question coming in here. What are the warrants for a signalized no turn on red yield to pedestrian sign?
Yeah, so in our previous presentation, as we can see, because the no turn on red brand sign, because the one I show you on my presentation is a dual, the brand sign with a dual mode, and they show the no turn on red when pedestrian push button to cross street, and when signal turn green, there was a turning vehicle yield to pedestrian side will be on, and so that is not on the warrant. However, this is the guideline to recommend, encourage when agency implement LPI, they should consider also implement that. As I mentioned earlier, that the non-yielding behavior does not mean you implement LPI, it will just reduce. And some location you see improvement, some location you see get worse. But we do see the reduction on conflict, so that's very important. But to improve the non-yielding behavior, when we implement LPI, for example, no turn on red, when LPI is on, it's still pedestrian got a walk indication, but vehicle still have a red because we got no turn on red is on, and basically the vehicle still cannot turn. Otherwise, vehicle will just say, oh, there's a gap, they just turn even though it's red. So no turn on red sign will be especially the bang out sign, and that will help to improve the non-yielding behavior, to reduce the non-yielding behavior.
All right, thank you. Got one more question coming in here. What is significant delay where LPI would not be implemented?
I think this is a good question. So I would say that it would depend on the local agency, the engineer, and they will decide how would that affect the traffic. So if, for example, LPI implementation and start have significant impact on the traffic, and then the local agencies should consider whether uh, whether they want to implement or they should consider not implement that because the delay could be very significant and long queue backup. Also, they may receive a lot of complaints.
All right, sounds good. I think we've got time for one final question here. How transferable are the results to other states?
I think it's pretty much transferable, and of course maybe need have some fine tuning based on the local situation, and because as I mentioned earlier, from all the literature review, and we talked to a lot of agencies throughout the states and do a lot of survey, and so all those information all uh, towards us the warrant we provide earlier, and so I think it's I would say it's pretty much transferable to other states to use, but just need some fine tuning.
All right, thank you very much. And with that, we will wrap up our Cutter webcast for today. If you have any additional questions that we did not cover, please feel free to reach out to us and we will follow up with you via email. Please tune in on March 28th to view our next Cutter webcast with Dr. Moyed Islam talking about urban roadway facility conversion with the predictive safety assessment tool and the application of highway safety manual. A survey has popped up on your screen. If you would take a moment to please let us know how we did today. This is important to direct our future Cutter webcasts and just to give us feedback. Thank you very much for attending today's Cutter webcast, and we look forward to seeing you on March 28th.